While working at Lillian's No One But You salon, we had different types of clients, and many used to come and speak their stories, their experiences. Some even used to come and say how their mother-in-laws are in possessions of dark altars, and yet they are hiding in church. They have even positions as leaders in these churches, especially the Catholic churches and the uniformed churches. Someone is a witch, but you find that in church she has a great position. She has been given a leadership position, yet she is a witch. She even has fellowship meetings in the homestead. So this more explains about the sinning in churches. And you find when this fellowship in the homestead, what the people have been made to eat or to drink or have been offered, or just stepping in that ground. That is how people are entered to secretly into dark covenants. They are men made to eat what is bad, the forbidden. Some people are in possession of idols. Mainly the snake is what is mostly used as the greatest idol, but others use the tortoise. But now while I was in Lillian's salon, one day it was just a general talk. The customers were just talking. Then I heard one of the customers say that it is believed the Maragoli are part of the Luya clan, tribes, Abaluya. That it is believed that the Maragoli, they have their idols, a leopard. So when I heard this, it shocked me. And I remembered the dream that I had, that I was on a road heading to Nick's homestead. And there, just halfway, I could see a leopard on the top of a tree. And this leopard was just staring at me fiercely. Again, when you relate to the dream that Nick had, when his stomach was paining, and he could see that it was a cat resting on the umbilical cord, hapo kwa kitovu. But when he lifted it up, it was not a cat, but it was like a wild animal, like a leopard. He was saying like a leopard, like a tiger, the members of the cat family. Again, when Nick that night tore my pants, he didn't just do that alone. But as I resisted, when he no longer found that knife, after he strangled me and failed, he sat on the mattress and he was panting. He was panting with rage. The inner spirit of him, like someone, you know, the way you see the wild animals, especially the members of the cat family, when they have followed their prey, either they have missed it or they have been able to catch it. The time when they like somehow at rest before starting to eat. The way they behave, the panting, like with some inner spirit energy. That was the way Nick was behaving. So I was able to see the character of this family, the cat family, the tearing of the prey and the panting with rage. So now I said, this is the answer that God is giving me. This is the altar, this is the idol. They are the Maragolis, associated with a leopard as their idol. And more so, Pastor Alex had told me during one of the meetings, these people were chased from the original Maragoli home. And anyone who has been chased from their original home or anywhere where they stayed, it means that they were not good people. They were bad people. They were evil. So I remember Pastor Alex saying that these people were witches. They had their own idols. That is why they were chased. So at this moment, I was able to understand. It came out clearly. And mostly Nick used to say that he has a bad anger, that when it arises, nobody is able to calm it down. So everything was just coming to light. Everything was just coming in the open. So I was able to understand the idol that is related to them, that has been passed from generation to generation. And now I was the one who they wanted to become a heir, because Nick was the firstborn son. Furthermore, when I had Nestor, my second-born son, just around that time, that August, Timothy, Nick's brother, had just completed a university, and his own father had looked for him a job, and he was employed in Nakuru. I think he was employed like an accountant. So one time, Timothy just left that job. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but what I heard is Timothy was jobless again. So one day I was just at home and Nick returned back in the evening. So Nick told me that Timothy had been arrested by CID. And the story that followed shocked me. He said that when Timothy was employed at that place, they used to pay him, but it reached a point that salary was never being given to him. So he decided to quit the job. So he went home and stayed for a very, very long time. But one day, Timothy received a phone call from his boss, And the boss was asking him, he was begging him, because he was very useful to his own boss, because the boss was never educated that enough. So Timothy was like a right hand man that the boss trusted. So Timothy this evening received a phone call from his boss, and he was asking him, just begging him to return to work. And when he returns to work, even the salary that was due, he will be paid. So later Timothy decided to return to work. But on the day that he traveled back to Nakuru, this same night, his own boss was found murdered. He was no more. So when this boss was found murdered, investigations started. And now when the investigations started, and when they looked at his phone call, the communications, mostly the last people who had talked to him, Timothy became the main suspect. Again, why did the case lie just on him? Because he had left that work and went, because he had not been paid. They said maybe he decided to come back and revenge, so that he may be able now to run that company. So Timothy was arrested by the CID, and the case that he was being charged with is murder. Then Nick said to me that his own father, Samson Issa, had tried so much to even know where exactly Timothy was, but he was denied that access. He was just visiting petrol station. Even he used some other sources so that he may be able to know exactly where his son had been arrested and jailed. But in the end, he was able to know where Timothy had been jailed, waiting for the case. So it was a very hard case. But after some time, I heard that Nick's dad had negotiated for Timothy to be released on bond. And they were asking him to pay a bond of over 1 million shillings, which he wanted to give out. But when the case continued, when it was heard, later they found Timothy innocent and he was released. On his release, they celebrated. But after this, one evening Timothy came to visit us, to see us, where I was staying in Joyland. So he started speaking, saying about the experience he had on the hands of the CID policemen. So he said he was arrested right from Dandora, and like he was traced through Facebook, the chats that he was having through Facebook, and they were able to locate him. So he was just seated, and then he saw this policeman storm the house where he was staying. He used to stay in Dandora because his own dad has a plot in Dandora. So he was staying in the rentals of his own father together with Betty, because at that time Betty had returned back to school to complete her education, her college education. So Timothy said he was harassed, he was beaten, and he was tied with a rope on both hands, and this rope was extended up to, I think, his neck. So he was unable to do anything. And by the time they had started traveling to Nakuru, because he was being ferried from Nairobi to Nakuru, he said that he had been beaten, he was unconscious. And even he showed us the scars that were on his neck. He said that even they tried to strangle him to death. But as he was speaking, the only thing I was being reminded of is the statement that his own father said, that the time when I was moving from their homestead, the message that he sent Augustine to tell us that we are stupid and he has a lot of money, that even $1 million, is not hard cash for him to make him open a case for me that will never end. So he was narrating this story, but I was being reminded of that statement. So Timothy said to us that when they were almost Nakuru, he regained his consciousness. But the CID police had told him that you are very lucky that you have come back to life, because we were here trying to think what we will have done with you. We were planning that on passing any river, we will throw you out, because Timothy had been put in the boot. So those policemen were coming to the conclusion that to them they saw that he was already dead. So they had planned to throw him into a river so that he may just die there finally, and maybe his body just rot in the water or be able to be found in the water. So when the bone of graves were arising, remember there was this issue in the country about the DCI throwing people in rivers, dumping people in rivers, criminals, killing them and dumping them in rivers, dumping bodies. This is a bone of grave, and it has been happening. So it is not something that the DCI are being framed about it, but they have been practicing that. They harass people, they torture people, and when they fail to regain consciousness, they have been throwing people into the rivers. That's why many bodies have been found in these rivers, especially the large rivers. So it has been happening. So as I was being reminded of the statement that Nick's dad made, now here everything went back to him. A murder case is something you cannot joke with. It is a case that has it has a ban ending. So he wished to open a case for me, but now it was all being given back to him. The million that he said that he has a lot of money, that a million can open a case for me, a case that will never have an ending. Now look, when Timothy was arrested, when he was negotiating, and I remember I was told that he even cried on seeing his own son. Now he was being asked for $1 million. So vengeance belongs to God. It is God who avenges everything, not man. So many people have been wronged. Many people, bad have been done to them. But because of that anger, they have tried, they have put themselves to be God. And they exact vengeance. They have forgotten that vengeance belongs to God, and it always happens at the appointed time. So they have ended up through vengeance. Some have ended up killing. And when they kill, they end up being arrested. Some have ended up even consulting witch doctors. So because of vengeance too, people have ended up under dark covenants, torment. Many people have made themselves to be like God, extracting vengeance, and yet vengeance belongs to the Lord. They are fighting against the Lord. They want to prove that they have power more than God. And because of this, they have ended up in more and more dark covenants. Because of vengeance, many have sought the dark world. Illuminati. Just someone says, he looked down on me. Let me go to Illuminati. So that I am given money. I become rich. I become popular. I have a good life. So that I may be able to trample on this person. Someone has wronged you. You decide to visit a witchcrafter. You decide to visit a sorcerer. That is dark covenants. Again, someone has wronged you, done the evil to you or maybe your family. One ends up killing. He may do it by himself or herself, or through putting poison in that person, shooting, the piercing of a knife, or some even go to the extent of employing hitmen or robbers to do that job. So that is the spread of dark covenants. Because every deed that a person does must be holy or evil. When it is evil, it is of Satan. So through this, many have been made to be under dark covenants, to be followers of the devil. Remember that also there is that power of the tongue that was exercised. What you confess is what you possess. When you confess bad or evil against a person, especially against an innocent person, it will all come back to you. It will all be poured back on you. So The tongue is a very small thing. Confession is possession. With the tongue, we are able to be framed as godly or ungodly. With the tongue, we bless or curse. Like what we speak out of our mouth, it is the seed that we are planting. And remember, when you plant a seed under the ground, before it sprouts, the first thing that it does, it has to split that ground above it so that it may be able to sprout. And when it sprouts, it nourishes, it flourishes, and then you are able to harvest the seed that you planted. And you cannot plant maize and harvest seeds. So when Nick's dad made that statement, that was the seed he planted for himself. That was the seed that he planted for himself. And before this seed sprouted, it had to break the ground that surrounds it first before it sprouts. So the ground that surrounded it first was his own family, Timothy. So it sprouted and it had to grow. And when it grew, because with that statement, it was an evil statement, an evil seed. So he planted an evil seed. So it grew, and he reaped what he planted through his words. And the other thing, remember, even if he uttered that statement, we never hit back at him. We just let it be. Because vengeance belongs to the Lord Almighty. Now look, everything was thrown back at him at the appointed time by the Almighty God, because he is the only one who avenges. James chapter 3, (1 to 18). My brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive a stricter judgment. So, let us not make themselves as we are the one who knows everything, and we can do anything that we want. Because the only teacher who knows what is right, who knows what is wrong, who knows the proper time, who knows what to feed on his children is God. So let not us try ourselves to be the know-it-all in everything, because judgment awaits us. Now look at Nick's dad. He saw himself as a teacher. He knows it all, that even with the money, he can be able to do anything that he likes or he wants. Because he knew even in his mind that he can be able even to bribe. Because of the money that he had, he saw himself rich with knowledge and understanding. He can feed the others with what belongs to him, the word that belongs to him. And through these words that belongs to him, he will be able to change their mind and make them do what is unnecessary. So Through his own knowledge, he saw himself as a teacher, to teach others to do what is not required. And therefore, in the end, he ended into a stricter judgment through his son, Timothy. 2. For we all stumble in many things. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle the whole body. 3. Indeed, we put bits in horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and return their whole body. 4. Look also at ships, although they are so large and are driven by fierce winds. They are turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot desires. 5. Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasts great things. See how great a forest a little fire kindles. Look what